Hello, everybody. This is video number 4 of the Alchemizing Duality intro series. We will be beginning our journey together very soon. And so I just wanted to share a little last tidbit of information with you all about the course. So the very last module of the course is about this idea of claiming the unity within. And so we will have moved through a journey of 5 other modules of really diving deep into duality, our shadow, our inner child, different places where we are holding blockers to being unified within ourselves. And I was thinking this morning about what I wanted to share in this last intro series, and I really want to talk with you all about what I call the original wound. So probably about 8 or 9 months ago, I was in meditation and I was working on some really deep rejection energy. I move through growth very, very quickly as a soul because of the work that I do. And that means that my relationships, my sacred relationships that I enter into with people are complicated, complex, and they move quickly. And for a long time, I took it really, really personally when people would spiral out of my life because it felt like rejection. And I realized in this meditation that I was in one day that a lot of my rejection energy, I thought, was coming from my childhood. And it definitely was. There's so many things that when we're children, we experience a lot of rejection with friends, with family members, with losing our imaginary friends and our imagination and feeling like we can't be our unique little children selves. But it was way bigger than that. It felt much deeper. And so the original wound is this experience that I started to have in this meditation. And I say experience because for me, my process is that I feel things in the body first. I'm an empath, and I can feel what rejection feels like in the physical being. I can feel my heart breaking. I can feel somebody else's heart breaking when they're going through grief and rejection energy. And so in this meditation, as I was connecting with my guides and talking with the 12th Dimensional Collective and the Divine Feminine Collective about this rejection energy, they said, well, you're just experiencing the original wound. And I said, well, what is that? And what they explained to me is that we all come from source. We all come from what I call the golden pool, right? Which is this beautiful source energy, source consciousness. And source wanted to know itself. And so we decided as individual beings to divide off from that beautiful golden pool of energy and become individuated beings. But the moment that we made that decision, there was a little thread of energy that came in that says, oh, I'm not source anymore. I have become something else. And that created the frequency of rejection in our field. And so let me explain that a little bit further. The moment that we incarnated and we separated from source energy, we created the original wound for ourselves. And that original wound creates this false sense of rejection because we needed to separate from source as a single all-knowing consciousness in order to know ourselves. And there's a tendency in our field for that to be interpreted as, oh, we must have done something bad. We've been rejected. We're no longer source. We're separate. We're a unique individual being having this human experience, and we're not connected to unity consciousness. We're not connected to source consciousness. We're not connected to all that is. And that original wound, that patterning in our field was necessary for us to know ourselves separate from source, but it was never really the intention for us to hold on to that forever. When we created this grand experiment here on planet Earth, and I say we because I believe that as a collective consciousness, we decided to be a part of this Earth experience. When we created this experience, we said, wouldn't it be really exciting to forget that we are source? Wouldn't it be really exciting to separate and become individuals and get so wrapped up in our crap that we forget that we're all one? We forget where we came from. Wouldn't it be exciting? Wouldn't that be a challenge? And I know how crazy that sounds because I often yell at myself as a soul of like, why did I decide to come here at this time? Why did I decide to come do this crazy thing and to to come incarnate with the parents that I came to incarnate with, and to come be in the corporate space and then have to leave the corporate space and do all this work. I get really frustrated sometimes that I made these crazy decisions. But you have to remember that when we're a part of source consciousness, eventually that gets boring. Eventually, being fully connected to bliss and fully connected to all that is, and not having differentiation, not having uniqueness, gets boring. And I know right now on the human earth plane, that sounds like a crazy town thing to say, right? It's like, oh boy, she's gone to crazy town because she's saying that being a part of bliss consciousness, being a part of unity consciousness, being a part of source is boring. And so the really ironic thing is it was boring for us. That's why we decided to come here. We wanted a challenge. We wanted to grow. And so when we reclaim unity consciousness in this course, it's not about going back to source, right? We still have work here to do on earth, but it's about reclaiming the remembrance that we are all one, that we are fully connected to source, and that we are source at our core. We are unity consciousness at our core. Everything that we experience in our physical reality out there of duality and conflict and arguments and relationships and all these really difficult things that we move through, that's just an experience. But at our core, it doesn't change the truth of who we are, which is that we are unified, whole beings. I don't care how bad your life is right now. I don't care how many bad things are happening for you. At your core, you are just like me. You are a unified, whole, complete being full of universal love. And that can't be changed. We can forget it temporarily. We can get wrapped up in the external duality that is happening around us, and we can forget who we are at our core. But we can always come back to that. And sometimes it takes something really bad happening to us for us to remember that that's our truth. And my goal with this course is to keep you from having to go into those really bad experiences to experience unity consciousness. I want you to be able to claim that while you're doing the dishes. I want you to be able to claim that while you're arguing with your partner and you're in your shadow self and say, whoa, I'm in my shadow. Let me come out. Let me come back to unity. Let me come back to wholeness. Let me for just a second remember who I am. And then I can come back to my truth and my wholeness and have this conversation again. I want you to be able to flip that switch and come back to that place of presence and come back to that place of knowing who you really are. Because if we could all activate that and we all had that switch that we could flip when we're in a victim place or when we're struggling or when we're afraid, this world would be such a different place. And so I always say that unity consciousness starts with you as an individual. When we each activate this knowing that we are universal love, we are source beings, we are unity consciousness. When we just start to activate that, and if we can live that for 1 minute out of every day, that's a huge shift in consciousness on this planet. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work. And that's why I'm bringing it forward right now, because this is so important. We have just moved through one of the most difficult times we've ever experienced as a human collective here in the last year. It has been challenging. There's so much trauma that has come to the surface. Our nervous systems are shot to hell. And it's time that we come back to our center. It's time that we come back to knowing who we are at our core. And remembering that even when stuff is crazy out around us, that we can always come back to that. It is time for us to anchor into that. And so I really hope that if this calls to you, that you will consider joining us on this journey. We have a sacred container being built. We have around 30 people already signed up and more coming every day. We start on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Everything is recorded, and you can have access to it if you can't join live. And I talk about this sacred container, and I'm going to talk in the very first class about alchemy and why the sacred container is so important and how we can all lean into that, because we were never meant to do this on our own. This work that I'm bringing forward was meant to do together. We were meant to do it in groups. We were meant to hold that space for each other and to witness each other in this transformation. And I'm so, so excited to be bringing this forward right now at this very important moment in our collective evolution as we are stepping into rebirth. So I hope you'll consider joining us on this beautiful journey. If you have any questions, email me. And there's more information on the landing page. You can go back and watch any of the videos that you may have missed. I have videos 1 through 3 on my YouTube. They're also on the landing page. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join us on this beautiful journey. I'll see some of you that are already registered on Thursday. Thank you. Bye-bye.